Hi everyone, I'm Josh. Welcome to my channel in what is another video in what seems to be a series of videos of me reanalyzing my book collection as I move back to the States and move all my books back into my new apartment that I'm going to. Basically, I've unhauled a good collection of books. I've decided to keep a good collection of books. These are books I've read that I'm keeping. These are books I haven't read on my physical TBR. That's maybe a video. We'll see how I feel. But this is for 30 books that I don't know why I wanted to read them, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give up on them just yet. Meaning, this video is about asking the question, why did I ever want to read this book? And I mean, seriously ask that question. I'm going to go through each book and try to figure out what it was that appealed to me and ask myself, does that still appeal to me? This is not a lot of prep. I'm just going to go and I'm going to sort of brute force it. Without further ado, let's get into why did I ever want to read these books? Okay, so let's start with The Myth of the Lost Cause. The topic is interestingly enough. The question is whether or not this was actually the book for me, because there's so many books on this type of subject. And it's the question of whether or not this is seen as significantly contributing to the conversation, because the title sounds great, but it's so easy to find titles that are flashy. 2015, so it's not that old, but it's also not that new. Nobody I know has really read it. I'm reading all this. I'm not seeing a single good reason to pick this up, but yet I'm still being called to it, which maybe that should just be enough. This says he's an attorney by trade, not a historian. Is that a red flag? I feel like it's a red flag. I hate this video already. Before I make a decision, let's just go to, I think the most damning statement here is to say that it's not really about the creation or those who are responsible. I feel like that's an important part. It's not just the evidence that this is about slavery. I think that is something I was interested in seeing, like how did this develop? Really, it's just a matter of trying to convince myself that it's okay to let go of this book, and I'm going to do it and let it go. It only took me 11 minutes to figure it out. Next up, Hypatia of Alexandria. Why did I pick this up? I don't remember where I first got this. This is about Hypatia. I was trying to find books about Hypatia because I thought she was interesting as one of the first scientists ever to this. This is a pretty obscure book. I think what I'm going to say is I want to read about Hypatia of Alexandria. It's short, it's easy. I'm going to keep, just like I read the other one, I'm going to give myself this one. One beat at a time. This was in my unhaul video, which I may or may not already put up. And now I'm debating, do I want to keep this after all? I want to review what perspective this is. Runs, I'm not sure. Wait, no, fuck, I read this. Okay, maybe I had an arc. It was an arc. I'm thinking of a different book. Okay, I'm not unhauling this because I've read it, apparently. Okay, well, it's not fiction. There's a method to this madness. Now we have these two books, The Sound of Fury and The Light in August. And I don't really need these on my collection, but they do match each other. And I have read the other in this trilogy. I don't know if they're a trilogy. The Sound of Fury. Yeah, that's the one I read. I would have to reread it to really be able to complete this. While I'm interested in returning to his works, I'm pretty sure it's in Library of America, and I may actually own that. So if I'm going to read it, I'll just keep that. So for now, I'm not going to bother with these. Jane Austen. It was a gift, so I'm very hesitant to get rid of it. But I really struggled getting into her works. They're just not really for me. It doesn't have a great smell, but it is a nice collection. I just need to read more. Like, I think I've only read Pride and Prejudice, and I need to read at least one of the book. And I think it's safe to say I'm still going to. I honestly put this on here because I wanted to even this video out with 30, I mean, it was 29 books, I said 30, so I'm keeping this. I'm kind of cheating. Transcendent Kingdom. I actually want to read the other book more than this, and this is a post-2020 book, which means it's just a very new book. By my standard, I'm trying to be more restrictive to the books I'm letting myself read, or choosing to read, rather, that are really new. The question is, do I want to read this more than our other book? If I remember correctly, this one might have been the one that had to do with religion, and specifically coming out of religion, science and faith. The book on religion, that's what I remember. I think really the question is, for me, what is Homecoming? Do I want to read this more than that? Like people I know who have read this, they give it very high ratings, right? I do want to read the other one, but I think it's safe to say I do want to read this. Like, the intersection of science and religion very much appeals to me as someone who's raised very religious and is now in science, and just people like enough that I know and trust, honestly. So I think I feel good about that. Gingerbread by Helen Oyemi. I did one of her books already. And the question is whether or not I want to continue doing that, because I don't feel that compelled by her books. It's magical realism, sort of retelling, I think. I don't know. I'm already telling myself I don't want to do this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. So that's on hold. If you're curious about who's on my friend list, there's some people that I guess I don't really know most people on here, but people I've spoken to, different levels, people I recognize, but usually the threshold I have for adding someone is when I go to their list of read books and want to read books, how many of them are books that I'm interested in, that I care about. It doesn't even have to have the same review as me, like same opinion on the result. I just want to make sure that we read the same class of books. Because I don't want to see a bunch of books that I'm just completely uninterested in on my feed. Then there were those of people who just don't have any books on there. It's like, maybe you're new, I don't know, but I don't know, you're not spam. I just don't want to clutter my feed. But just some context to who we're looking at here. Okay, so we have a couple historical fictions. Well, a few historical fictions. House of Names by Colm Tobin, which I know he or she is very famous. I'm not sure. I know it has to do with historical fiction. Greek mythology does that. So I'm almost certain that's Troy, right? I know this author is very well praised. This was a great myth retelling, and maybe it's the Greek myth that I didn't enjoy. I wish I had more. I do greatly value Scott's opinion. I'll still consider this author, but not this book. It's going to be an unhaul for me. Another one. This one is of Alexander the Great. Probably just the same general vibe of wanting to explore historical fiction of different eras. I mean, is it exceptional? 1969, so that is a plus. More backlist books. Let's see. Joe Walton, whose opinion I always agree with, but who is someone I do greatly admire as an author. Maybe I'll sort of beat myself in the middle. I got rid of the other one that I see sort of the same classification, retelling of ancient history, and I'll keep this one. I'll give it a shot. Remembrance by Rita Woods. This was a book I tried a while back, and I did not like. I DNF'd it. It is sort of, I think, a magical realism, if I remember correctly. It's sort of split between three different time periods. Modern day, 1791 Haiti, and 1857 New Orleans, looking at sort of intersection of family experiences. And I want to debate whether or not I want to DNF to get rid of this, or put it back in my TBR to read, just give it another try. I think what it was is I saw someone whose review, whose opinion I trust. I cannot spell. Fans of Underground Railroad, Orphan Train. I read one, not the other. I did struggle with Underground Railroad, although I thought I did find it rewarding. 31%, that was pretty far in, actually. I couldn't get to the story as I wanted to. Jesse loved this book. I think that they were the ones who I heard this book from. I'm very mixed. I think for now I'm going to DNF it, or to unhaul it, and if I hear people bring it back up in the discourse, I'll reconsider it. But right now, I don't know. I'm actually going to start a maybe pile. Go back to this. Okay. The Sisters Brothers, I really have no idea why I picked this up. Honestly, I just kind of want to DNF it now. I know I'm talking lightly. That's just because I'm in a house and I feel weird being heard for a video talking to myself. I'm not looking for a good Western. I think I'm going to do this. Nope, it's easy breezy cover girl. Okay, now this was a book I've not heard anything about. And so I don't necessarily get that strong of an appeal to this from FOMO. It's more just the nature of space travel that calls to me, and this cover that I do kind of like. So let's just try to, I think mostly, I'm going to try to disillusion myself with this book. I don't think it's probably worth reading. Wanderers. In 4 years' time, prime space will be humans, first humans on Mars, blah, blah, blah. My instinct is to keep with it unless I see people's opinion I strongly trust to get rid of it. Nothing against Chelsea and Gabby, but I don't necessarily always agree with them, so I see one person that I recognize doing this, so I gave it 4, so I don't know. I think I'm feeling compelled to keep this because the premise still sounds interesting to me. Even though I haven't heard much about it, I think it's definitely up my alley. So I'll keep that one. Color in the Sun. This is a case of it being a brand new book. And asking the question if I want to keep a bunch of new releases on just because they're mildly interesting. And I do not know. I do not know. Let's see what people say about it. I know I've heard good things. It's one question of there being a lot of sci-fi that I want to read, including new books. Like I loved this author's Never Let Go. Shit. And I know what it's about. It's about like a robot or AI entity and her experience. Meh, to an entirely fair. But I felt the world building was lacking. Oh, what does that mean? What do you like in your sci-fi? DNF. Audrey did not like this. Ooh, a lot of mediocre. I think I'm making it easier on myself to actually not DNF on the whole. This is turning into a successful video. Well, successful process. I don't know if the video will be successful. Okay. Robots versus Fairies. Big question here. Is this on audio yet? Because I'm not sure I'll ever read it otherwise. Locust nominee. World Fantasy nominee. Shirley Jackson Award for Edited Anthology. Actually, that might have been what pulled me into this. And it's making me want to revisit this as a possible thing worth pushing through, even if it's not on audio. I just don't. I've had this for so long. I'm pretty sure since 2020, and I've not read it. It's not on audio. I think I'm going to keep it just because, I already have so many books, and I am interested in trying to give it a shot. Next up, A Master of Jin, Fajeli Clark, mostly because I didn't love his novella. Something about it didn't work. The one that was very popular. I don't remember what it's called. But I do want to give him another shot. It's just a question of, is this the one I give a shot to? A lot of awards. Nibbler Award for Best Novel, nominee. Kind of on that account, I remember now why I picked it up, probably. It's the third book I've read. Main issues of the book is very much a personal preference thing, and I feel like it's a bit too by the numbers detective story. Ugh. Don't love detective stories. I was feeling it until then. No, I have this novella. I guess I could always go back to this book if I like the novella. Like I know I probably shouldn't, but I do put a lot of weight in all the awards. I know they're largely just popularity contests among the people in the field. I think I'm going to lean on keeping it. Maybe a project I'll give myself for this next year is one of those read or in haul. I think that's fun. I think some of these books need to be one of those. I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep White Tears by Hari Kunozuo. I just want to know what it's about. I have no idea what it's about. It's horror, literary fiction, decent accolades, I guess. 220-something New Yorkers. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, a ghost story. Okay. Meditation of Race. And a love letter of forgotten American music. I don't think I've ever read this synopsis for this. And I'm intrigued. It's enough for me. We're more than halfway at this point. Murder, She Wrote. I love this cover, the quality of it. It's such a beautifully made book, high quality. But I've not picked it up. And one thing to have a good idea, as I said before. Another thing to have something substantive to say. Let me just look up what reviews I can find. I love horror, I love nonfiction about horror, and feminism. So it's a good intersection of themes. Oh, that's a good review. If you have any interest in speculative fiction or horror, I definitely recommend picking this book up. It's fascinating and well crafted. It's probably enough for me, actually. The Night Ocean, Lovecraftian. I picked it up because I was going towards Lovecraftian books that were popular. A tour de force storytelling ocean follows the lives of extraordinary people. Lovecraft. Actually, I read this and I hate it. I didn't see the review when I was scrolling. I didn't see my stars. But as soon as I read it follows Lovecraft and some other person, I was like, shit, I remember this book. And I looked over and I was like, oh yeah, I read this, I reviewed this, and I hated it. While I'm getting rid of a lot of my books I'm not loving, I kind of just want to keep my horror collection growing. So I have a special circumstance with horror, so let's just put this. There we go. Okay. Now let's talk about two thrillers. I just talked about unhauling thrillers that I've read. And I'm not sure, there's something about the newness that pulls to me here. Could be just fun and easy. And yet, for both of these, I don't need to own them to choose to read them. I think the thing is that if I'm going to pick up a thriller and I have these, I'm more likely to pick these up. And so I want to keep these one as a way to encourage myself to read these. It has awards, I guess, but I don't really follow thriller awards. I'm actually inclined to going to keep a thriller. Why not keep this one? I changed my mind. I'm not keeping a guest list. I still kind of want to read it. I just don't know if I want to own it. I should just gift it, honestly. I just don't know if I care enough to have a thriller collection. I'm getting rid of it. And also, now I think about it, I'm getting rid of Remembrance too. I'm pretty sure this was a book outlet book in The Value of the Sun. And now that I think about it, I'm not sure I even care enough to look it up because I'm pretty sure I just bought a horror book that was cheap. So I regret even asking myself if I wanted to look it up. I think this was a mistake. Lovecraft Monsters, Ellen Datlow. I reviewed Ellen Datlow, and I want to get through all of her collections, and I think there's no reason not to keep this one. The Jin Falls in Love, a collection of dark fantasy short stories. Let's look it up. Pretty sure this was book outlet as well, but I swear this one kind of called me. Fascinating collection, new and classic tales, gems. No one I know has read this. Locust nominee, or fantasy nominee, Shirley Jackson Award nominee. I think the fact that it hasn't been read kind of makes me want to keep to it. I mean, I'm intrigued by it still. Actually, let me just make sure it's on audio. My interest is not enough to push through a non-audio book. Oh, it's not. So, never mind. I'm getting rid of it. This is the fantasy version of a lot of thrillers that I've gotten rid of lately. And since I think it's just very lowest common denominator. But I still think it could be fun. And I have liked Schwab, more or less, generally speaking. There are some cases I haven't. And I just think this could be fun, even though it's not necessarily original. I don't think it could be that exceptional. Yeah, I don't even want to bother looking it up. Okay, now let's look through a couple here. Practical Magic. Why the fuck did I pick this up? It doesn't, it feels like pop fiction. I like fantasy, but pop fiction fantasy, I don't know about that. Let's just do a quick Google to see if there's any value that I can identify in this book besides the fact that it's popular. I think part of it was there was a new one, and I was like, oh, I can't read that one until I read this one. Loved it? Loved it? I don't know. The reviews aren't that bad. I don't think I know this person. I don't. I say loved it. She had 4 stars. It's not love. Mediocre. Let's just read real quick. Why is it love so much? I don't think I want it. Maybe one day I'll read it, but I just don't think I need the book. Of all the books that exist, there's nothing about this that really sticks out as I want to read this. This book is a unique experience. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have faith. Oh, I should show it to you. Gods of Jade and Shadow. I've had mixed feelings about Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Sometimes I like her books, sometimes I don't. I don't always vibe with her writing style, to be honest. But this one, this sort of mythological, it's a different type of mythology than I've generally read about, and I'm still intrigued by that sense. And the question is, it stood up 2019 and a number of awards, nominees at least. And this is the book that got me, what's the word I'm looking for, introduced me to her. That's when I first heard about her. Great reviews, good reviews, great review, solid review. Not great, but okay, actually, I think I've read enough. I want to keep it going. I don't have a synopsis, but let me just see. Where is the setting? Interesting. About 100 years ago. Why not? One of my top 10 books of all time is some book by Claire North, The 15 Lives of Harry August. And I just really love that book. And she has a lot of speculative fiction. And the question is, do I want to read this one? I think this is one that I just ended up buying. And I do want to read more of her books. I haven't. The question is whether this is the one that calls to me. Why hold myself back? If I'm going to read one of her books, why not just let myself not own any of them? That way I just pick up the one that calls to me in the moment. You know, it's basically when people see her, she leaves the room, they forget about her. Yeah, I think that's what I said. I'm going to get rid of it. And still consider reading her other books. Well, almost there, 2 more to go. First up, we have another book that I've heard good things about, but I don't think I've tried reading. Ray Bearer. It's YA fantasy, and I'm not sure how I feel about YA, but I know Jesse from Blue Tyson Books spoke so highly of it. I want to consider it before I get rid of it. I do love my cover. 2020, that's a newer one. fantasy of a lot of awards. That's a good sign. Of course, they're young adults, so I don't recognize them that much. I remember now. I did hear a lot of this. Wasn't just Jesse's book about it. I think I'm going to re-enlist this as a book I consider, and I'm pretty sure it's a series. Probably another reason why I haven't picked it up yet. But I do want to keep it on my TBR, that's for sure. And then one last book / series that I'm just unsure about, because I'm not sure how I think I've heard mixed things about this. Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. Speculative fiction. Oh, it won the award for the Bradbury Prize. Lambda nominee. Oh, it's queer. That's a big plus for it. I'm leaning to keep it. Beautifully intense prose. Okay, that scares me. 4.5, Thomas Wagner. That means a lot to me. Bethany loves it. I don't necessarily always agree with her. And then Scott didn't like it. But again, I don't always agree with him either. I think if it was just the two of them, I'd probably say no. My interest in the book, coupled with being queer, coupled with a slew of good reviews from people I do trust, makes me want to still consider it. I need to seriously consider my series, though. That's another video. But anyways, those are all the books. All 30 books that I was considering unhauling. Okay, we're getting rid of these. 1, 2, 14. Almost half. That's I call that success. Okay, and this is what I'm keeping. Well, that's that. I definitely want to do a plan of, 10 or 15 books that I have to read or unhaul in the next year. That's the topic for the video, I guess. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you. I have no doubt this video was a lot of work to edit, but hopefully it went up. I actually really enjoyed filming it. I hope the fan in the background, coupled with my low talking, was manageable. And I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.